What's really happening in the Middle East? Iran, the United States, Israel, conflict. What you're going to hear in this video isn't just about what's happening on a geopolitical and military level, but I'm going to try to tell you something you won't hear in many places. What really is happening at the root level, and I'm going to try in a few minutes to summarize for you approximately 3,337 years of history. You have to know that this war is not a geopolitical war over territories, something circumstantial. It is a war with very, very deep spiritual roots that go back thousands of years up to today. And that's what I want to talk about today. What you won't hear in many places, because often people talk about it on a technical level. Did this happen? There's a bomb here, a missile. Here it's called this missile. This missile has such functionality. They attack this, they attack that. There's a lot of talk about what would be the makeup of the story, but really few talk about the roots of this story. And I think that if you understand it, it's going to change your life, because knowing this is very relevant for you. First, a very important precaution that I want to tell you about. I'm filming here in the land of Israel, and you should know that unfortunately missiles sent from Iran to this land are still continuing Israel. Therefore, there are alarms. If you hear an alarm, don't be scared. I'll probably continue the class while going to a shelter or take a pause. We'll see. It depends on how things go. Hopefully that situation won't happen, but you should know that first. The second story I want to tell you is a personal story that happened to me recently. I was guiding a group, and you'll see how incredible what I'm about to tell you is and how relevant it is today. I was guiding a group in the land of Israel, a very holy place in the land of Israel. Suddenly, there was someone who was like the leader of the group. He comes up to me, grabs me, asks for permission, of course, and grabs me. My tzitzit, these are a four-cornered garment that is a commandment from the Torah. To put on what they call the tzitzit, and to put on the petal tekelet, which is this sky blue color along with the white. And he asks me to kiss the tzitzit, and then he tells someone in the group to kiss it and says, I'll explain why to you and to the whole group. They're my words, what I remember, and they come, they ask me for permission, and they kiss my tzitzit. Look at how profound. Now I'm going to tell you what the prophet Zechariah says. Zechariah chapter 8 verse 23 says this. In Hebrew and then in Spanish. Thus says the Lord of hosts, in those days 10 men from every language of the nations shall take hold. Yes, they shall take hold of the corner of the garment of a Jewish man, saying, let us go with you, for we have heard that God is with you. In Spanish, the translation would be, in those days, that is in the future, which I tell you is already today, like the story I'm telling you. And this story is before the war. It was a short time ago, but it was before this war against Iran, he says. In those days, that is in the future. 10 men from all the languages of the nations will take hold of the edge of a Jew's cloak, saying, we will go with you, for we have heard that God is with you. Impressive. Now, why do I tell you that it's relevant to the real story? What happened with the United States? Did you hear? Surely the United States, after about a week since Israel basically carried out an attack against Iran, this place with the dictatorial, extremist Islamic government, its goal since 1979 has been, without any shame, to destroy the land of Israel and erase, may God allow us to erase Israel from the map. That is their main goal, billions of dollars focused on that, instead of building schools and helping poor people in their country or in other countries. What it does is send, or at least I hope what it used to do until just a few days ago, sending money to Hamas in southern Israel, in the Gaza Strip, or to Hezbollah in northern Israel, in Lebanon or in Yemen, to terrorist groups in Yemen. In other words, instead of helping those people who also have many poor people and giving them food and schools and healthcare, helping the hospitals, in other words, instead of helping to build, they were, in quotes, helping to destroy. Love with hatred, even though it sounds contradictory. The love for their own lives, love in quotes, obviously that's what they call love. What they are really clinging to is hatred and destruction. since 1979 investing. You have to know that they have gas, an incredible amount, that is an incredible natural wealth of petroleum gas, billions of dollars and all that. And what? Focused on fighting against Israel. Therefore, obviously, this is not a war over territories. The Iranians have no kind of interest with Israel. What do they care about Israel? Israel? You should know that Iran is more or less over 70 times bigger than us. It's a giant empire in terms of territory, in terms of population, about 10 times bigger than us. There are about 90 million people in Iran with incredible wealth, also at the atomic level, obviously a global threat, and in fact, this is the war we're fighting, this is what we're doing. Israel for the love of the world and humanity. What we did was basically understand, obviously through intelligence that we knew at the military level, intelligence that they were really close to completing the atomic plan. And it really represented, obviously, because they said it openly, that they wanted to attack Israel with atomic bombs, obviously, and therefore it meant a danger to Israel and a danger to the whole world. Therefore, Israel, thank God, decided to stop that situation, and thank God, we are winning. Baruch Hashem, thank God. Now, why am I telling you all this? Because the United States saw that Israel controlled the situation for a week, traveling freely through Iranian skies and reaching strategic Iranian locations, nuclear facilities, and all kinds of military targets. On a surgical level, you should know that the Israel Defense Forces, on a surgical level, attacked specific locations that represented an imminent danger to Israel and to the entire world. And obviously, taking care of the Iranian population, in contrast to this, or in opposition, is what the Iranians have been doing for years, and especially since last year. But it's something that isn't new. Obviously, firing missiles mainly at densely populated areas, areas with a very large population density, like cities such as Tel Aviv, Yerushalayim, Haifa. The target is a civilian target, not a military target. Iran is a radical Islamic terrorist group. Therefore, in broad terms, you have to understand that this is a war between good and evil. That is absolutely clear. Now, when I want to talk about the root, I'm going to tell you about milestones from 3,337 years ago to today, and see how all of this, God willing, I will be able to, with Siyada and Shemaya, with God's help, to connect it and explain to you the spiritual root of everything that is happening, not only on an informational level, but also what is hidden. It's like when you see a tree and you see a flower on the tree or a fruit on the tree, that's fine. But what's happening down there in the roots? That's really where, as the saying goes, that's where the game is being played. In the roots, whether that tree is healthy or not, it's all about the roots. Therefore, you have to see how the Israeli people are very healthy. This Israeli strength shows how healthy it is, because it shows how strong it is, because the bond with God is, thank God, untouched. The covenant with God is untouched. And this began, and this is what I'm going to touch on now, historical milestones. We left Egypt, God parted the sea, we saw how God opened the heavens and opened the earth. We saw that there is nothing outside of God. Everything is eloquent, as it's said in Hebrew. We saw that God is everything, He is above everything, He controls everything. Einon Milvados, as it's said in Hebrew, there's nothing outside of God. We received the Torah at Mount Sinai. God gave us the Torah. Millions of people saw the Hebrew letters of the commandments. It was an incredible scene. We received the commandments of the Torah with Moshe as our great leader. But all the people of Israel, including the souls of the converts, both men and women of the people of Israel from all generations, we were there. All the souls of the people of Israel were there. It was a testimony to all the people. We all witnessed that divine revelation, which was unique in history. 40 years in the desert, God with us like a constant caress. In the desert, He took care of us with the clouds of glory, pillars of fire, the tabernacle. 40 years in the desert. We entered the land of Israel. Thank God, God helped us to settle in the land and helped us defend ourselves and to conquer the promised land. We faced very negative peoples with a lot of hatred toward the people of Israel, and thank God we conquered. We arrived in the land of Israel. And as you know, unfortunately, when we built the temples, the first temple in Jerusalem, then the second temple in Jerusalem, there were unfortunately empires that destroyed the temples. And we went into the diaspora for 2,000 years of diaspora. And what happened? Thank God. Now we've been coming back for many years, thank God. But it's something quite new in history, the prophecy, what is called Kibbutz Galuyot, the gathering of the exiles. We're returning to Israel, it's impressive. And that's what's happening today. God is with us, as the verse says in the book of Deuteronomy chapter 20 verse 4. I'll say it in Hebrew and then in Spanish. For the Lord your God is the one who goes with you to fight for you against your enemies, to give you victory. Because the eternal, your God goes with you to fight for you against your enemies and to give you salvation. And here we see how the United States, the greatest empire in the world, obviously also in terms of military power, obviously he waited for David to fight against Goliath and win, and that's when the great empire of the United States stepped in. And here we see how these verses I told you about from Zechariah or Deuteronomy, how are they fulfilled? How do the nations see how God is with his people, how his people, the people? And being God's people means out of love for all humanity, to care for humanity, to fight for life. As it is said in Hebrew, it is written in the Torah, Uba Jarta Bahai, you shall choose life. And that is what the people and being do and are doing. Thank God. That is what is happening at the root level. That is the root of this conflict. So, if you haven't joined my community yet and you want to be connected with the land of Israel, with the state of Israel, to have a community that constantly embraces you, this is a spectacular opportunity. We also organize activities to help soldiers' families, sons and daughters of soldiers, and soldiers' wives. In other words, it's a spectacular community full of blessings, and may we have the merit, God willing, as God promised Abraham, our patriarch. Those who bless you will be blessed. The fact that you are part of this community that supports Israel. God willing, it will be for your blessing and the blessing of your loved ones, your people, and the whole world. God willing, only for blessings. May everything be with much success and many blessings.